Hello, Mizahar. I'm going to do my first vlog that's actually a demonstration. I have a little cue card here. This is going to be on belly dancing in terms of the hip movements, because there's sufficiently enough hip movements to cover an entire vlog. So, and I have my mic here because my sound on my computer is absolute, yeah, it's not very good. So, I'm going to start with, so as you can see, I'm just dressed in my casual wear. You don't have to get dressed up fancy. I just like to do vlogs with nice outfits. But for demonstration, I'm just keeping it simple. So to start off, I've got vertical hip movements, and that would be up and down movements, like so. I'm just alternating. This one goes up and then down, up and down, up, down. And then at the same time, the other hip is doing the opposite movement. Now, the way I do this is all I'm doing is I'm bending and straightening my legs. So if you look at this leg, right now I'm on my toe here. When I straighten it, it pops my hip up. So, and you can get that really sharp accent by pushing into the floor, and it pops your hip up. You're not actually lifting your hip. I could lift it, but it's a lot easier just to push off the ground. And so that's what I'm doing when I've got both my feet flat. I'm just pushing one at a time. So whichever leg is straight, like over here, that's the hip that's up. And then now this hip's up. If you're trying this at home, it really helps if you are on your tiptoe with one leg to really see it. But then when you get better, you can do it with flat legs or flat feet on the ground. So that's the vertical hip movement. I often call it a hip accent or hip hop, because you've got that really sharp popping motion. Second move is just going side to side with your hips. So that's going to one side, to the other side. This one's pretty straightforward. And then once you can do side to side, you can also go forwards and back, forwards and back. And then in a minute I'll show you how all these can turn into various circles. But I'm first going to talk about the hip twist, and that's where you're just twisting your hips from the bottom. I like to practice with my arms fairly still, because then you can see the movement better. When I first started practicing, my arms were all over the place. Sometimes it helps to stand in a hallway, like a narrow hallway or corridor, so you can put your hands on the walls to make sure your arms aren't moving. So that's the hip twist. And then, like I said, you can turn all these movements into various circling patterns. So if you've got the hip slide and the forwards and back, you can round this out by doing a circle on the horizontal plane. Sort of looks like doing a hula hoop kind of thing. You can also switch directions to make sure you're good at both directions. And then with the twisting, you can do a figure eight. So in my mind, it's a backwards figure eight. Well, you can do backwards and forwards. So I'm aiming my hip to that corner of the room, and then I bring it back and around, and then this hip is naturally facing that corner of the room, and I bring it back and around, and then this one back and around, and then I can bring this one back and around. And so this makes this lovely backwards figure eight kind of position. Like I said, you can also do it in the forwards direction. So now I'm sending this hip to that corner of the room, and I bring it forwards, and then this hip is now facing that corner of the room, and I bring this one forwards. And so that looks like this, and so it gives a different sort of feel to it. And then there are also vertical circles. So this was the horizontal, like on the horizontal plane. You can also, actually no, they're not vertical circles, they're like vertical figure eights. So you push this hip upwards, and it goes out and around, and then down, and then this hip is now upwards, it goes out and around. And so you've got this vertical figure eight going as it goes up and around, and then up and around. And so, yeah, I think in my class we called these Mayas, which was an Egyptian word for water, I think, because they've got this watery motion. And then the opposite was called a fish, which is going down with your hip, and then up, and then down and up and around. And so it's sort of the opposite direction. And so again, it has a different feel to it. Okay, so those are all the basic hip movements, and then you add them to combine them for various circling and figure eight patterns. And then you can do all sorts of shimmies. So the basic shimmy is just, you're moving your knees or your legs, and you're, I don't know if you can see very well. Oh, I guess you can. But, I'm just moving each of my legs really quickly and letting all my hips vibrate and everything. And it can get tiring after a while, because you're sort of like running on the spot but not really picking up your heels. Or, I mean, if you need to practice at the beginning, it helps to pick up your heels. But once you get better, then you keep your heels on the ground, and then you can technically add a shimmy onto all sorts of things, like sideways. You can do twists, you could do a figure eight, or circles. And so that's your basic shimmy. And then, but the only problem with the shimmy is it's really hard to walk with it. So there are two variations on the shimmy in which you can walk with it. There's the 3/4 shimmy, which, okay, I'll first show you what it looks like. It looks like this, and then I will break it down. So I step onto one foot, and I pop my hip up, and then while I am standing on that foot, see, this one's completely free, I bend my knee to bring it down, and this hip up, and then I straighten my leg one more time to bring this hip up. So it's a total of one, like up, down, up for this hip. And so it's 3 beats in sort of like a bar, so that's why it's a 3/4 shimmy. So it'd be up, down, up, and then up, down, up. So up, down, up, up, down, up, up, down, up, up, down, up. And then as you get better, you can quicken things up until you're just doing it quite quickly, and it kind of looks like a shimmy, and you're moving with it. And so that allows you to pick up your feet. That one takes a lot of practice, so if you're not getting it, like, don't worry. Being able to do your hip stuff when you're on one foot is quite tricky. The other way of doing a shimmy while you're moving is called a shimmy walk. And here, instead of focusing on the up on all the strong beats, you're focusing on the down. And so you've got a bit of a twist, so you twist down, and this hip is down. So it's down, up, down, and then down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. So it would look like down, up, down, down, up, down, 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 down. And so it's a little bit more like earthy and on the ground rather than oh, my screen's coming off. Okay, never mind. So it's a little bit more focused on the downs rather than the ups, and it's got this earthier feel to it instead of the sort of happier, lighter three-quarter shimmy. This one's a little smoother, a little bit more down to earth. So those are all my hip things. I hope you enjoyed this.